Hello and welcome to Afternoon Tea with Karen. And I'm still working on part two, but I've been a bit distracted by Brittany Higgins 2.0. So I've decided to learn a bit more about Krissy from Geelong.
Whenever I give a press conference, I do not just provide the facts in front of me, but I also address those impacted the most. So I want to now directly address the concerns and questions that some may have. The alleged conduct related to these charges is confined to a very small section of our trusted and respected ADF, which helps keep this country safe. The overwhelming majority of our ADF do our country proud. Today's charges are not reflective of the majority members who serve under our Australian flag with honour, with distinction, and with the values of a democratic nation. Today is a day to rally behind the ADF and be mindful of the families whose loved ones have died while serving our country.
What's Wikipedia got to say? She joined at 21 and she became commissioner in October last year.
Thank you, Prime Minister and Minister Burke, for this great honour and for the trust that you have placed in me. I am truly humbled to serve as the 9th Commissioner of the Australian Federal Police. I first started my career with the AFP as a 21-year-old administrative assistant down in our Melbourne office, and I never imagined that one day I would be leading this very fine organisation, which now has a workforce of over 8,000 people and is posted in more than 30 countries across the world. I started with the AFP as an unsworn employee, having come out of uni, and that gave me a really good appreciation of the actual work that the AFP does, the diversity of the work the AFP does. This is my 11th year with the AFP now. My first 3 years were spent as an unsworn employee, and I've now completed 8 years as a sworn employee. I'm currently in ACT Policing, working as an operational team leader out of Tuggeranong Police Station. I've had some great experiences over that 11 years. Probably the one that springs to mind first would be my deployment to the Solomon Islands. I've been fortunate enough to be seconded to a number of short-term operations, including the Incident Coordination Centre in response to the Bali bombing in 2002, and also the resolution phase of a large terrorist investigation down in Melbourne. Another highlight of my career, most recently, would be my promotion to the rank of sergeant. I have great respect for the uniform and for those leaders that have gone before me, and I'm very proud to wear the rank of sergeant. That was a very big highlight in my career. I'd say the first challenge that comes to my mind, having a career with the AFP and being a woman, would be juggling motherhood and a career at the same time. The AFP has been able to support me in working flexibly. I've returned from maternity leave recently and have a 16-month-old daughter. I'm now working as a part-time patrol team leader in a frontline position, which is not something that's been undertaken before, and I've been very impressed with the amount of flexibility that's been shown to me. My husband works in an operational area within ACT Policing as well, and he has on-call requirements every second week. The area he works in is traditionally a very male-dominated area because it is so specialised, and the culture of that area is has been very male-dominated. And he's also been shown a lot of flexibility from his team leaders and his superiors in terms of being a working dad and having a working wife. And I've been very impressed with the amount of flexibility they've offered to him as well. My advice to other women who are considering becoming a police officer would be, don't let your self-inhibitions and your self-doubts hold you back. If it's something that interests you and you've done the research and you think that it's a job that you could do, just get in there and give it a go.
When Sergeant Krissy Barrett isn't chasing after those who flout the law, she's running after this little one.
She's growing up very quickly, and every day is a new challenge. She's learning new things, and we're evolving as parents. But it's great. It's the best thing I did.
Sergeant Barrett's career hasn't had to take a back seat. She makes this trip 3 times a week, dropping 18-month-old Ruby at daycare, who happily says bye. Then it's to the station.
It gives me a perfect balance, so I can come to work and contribute wholeheartedly at work. I'm here 30 hours a week, which is enough time for me to make a really good contribution here, but also it doesn't take a lot away from my time with my daughter.
Barrett is the only female sergeant who works part-time on the front line as a general duties police officer. It's shift work, there's a 24-hour roster, a job that throws her constant challenges.
Traditionally, or in the past, once you sort of came back from maternity leave, you were restricted to desk jobs or Monday to Friday jobs, and that's really disappointing for a woman who wants to continue with their operational career.
ACT Policing hopes Sergeant Barrett won't be the only mum taking up flexible working arrangements. A campaign is underway to recruit more females into the force. It closes on May 11. Eleanor Midgley, Win News.
It's now my pleasure to call on Krissy Barrett, who's the Assistant Commissioner of Counterterrorism and Special Investigations for the Australian Federal Police. She has held key roles such as Assistant Commissioner of Southern Command and Deputy Chief Police Officer of ACT Policing. Barrett holds a Police Overseas Service Medal and an Operations Medal for the Bali bombings. Her education focuses on policing leadership and management, as well as criminal justice. She has represented Australia at Five Eyes law enforcement working groups. Ms. Barrett, the floor is yours.
Good afternoon, everybody. As just introduced, my name is Krissy Barrett and I'm the Assistant Commissioner for Counterterrorism and Special Investigations with the Australian Federal Police. I would first like to start by thanking the International Institute for Counterterrorism for providing the invitation for me to provide this address today, and I'm very honoured to be one of a number of Australian law enforcement senior executives that have spoken at this conference over the last few years. I will also apologise in advance that I have brought quite a cough with me all the way from Australia, so if I need to take a break, please bear with me, but I will get started because that very aggressive clock is looming right in front of me. So as Assistant Commissioner Counterterrorism and Special Investigations, I oversee a command which spans not only across Australia, but has a global reach with deployment of dedicated members all over the world. The CTSI Command has a broad remit and is responsible for not only counterterrorism, but also special investigations, which encompasses espionage and foreign interference in the AFP. October last year marked 20 years since the tragic bombing in Bali, in which 202 people were killed, including 88 Australians. The terrible impacts of the Bali bombings continue to be felt by countless people affected by the loss of loved ones during this tragic incident, as well as by the survivors who continue to live with the physical and psychological scars of the attack. The Bali bombings, along with the tragic events of September 11, were really central in reshaping Australia's overarching national security approach. The September 11 attack led to the establishment of the current counterterrorism framework we have in Australia, and this includes the establishment of joint counterterrorism teams, or JCTTs, where the AFP works in close partnership with our state and territory police services, the Australian Security Intelligence Organisation, or ASIO, and other Commonwealth agencies to identify, investigate, prevent and disrupt terrorist activities in Australia.
It's hard to keep up with Krissy Barrett. 6:45 on a Monday morning, and the new Commissioner is setting a cracking pace around Lake Burley-Griffin in our nation's capital. Our new top cop is certainly fit for purpose, and at least for now, happy to let Australians get to know her. Okay. Commissioner, thanks for your time.
Thank you very much.
You said that at one point you would have never imagined that you would hold this job. Have you got your head around it now?
Yes, I have got my head around it now, but that's how I was feeling at the time. I started with the AFP as a very young 21-year-old, and never did I think it would take me to the Commissioner role and leading an organisation as unique and as important to the Australian public as the AFP is. So under my leadership, the AFP will have a laser focus on disrupting crimes that undermine our sovereignty, our democracy, our social cohesion, our financial institutions, our future prosperity. We have seen a changing operating environment for us as law enforcement and as the AFP here in Australia. And so another reason why I'm really calling out social cohesion as part of my laser focus and the importance that, social cohesion has to our democracy, to the very fundamentals of being an Australian and feeling safe and secure to live in Australia.
Yeah. How concerning is this increase in political violence, and how much resources is that taking by the AFP? Have you had to try and ramp up security, for example, for politicians and that kind of thing?
It has been a shift in the environment in the last couple of years, to the point that, under my leadership, the AFP has established national security investigations teams. So to be very clear, these are teams that will be dedicated to investigating and disrupting, high harm activity that threatens our social cohesion. Part of that is threats against federal parliamentarians as well. So these teams will be located in Melbourne, in Sydney and in Canberra.
So how are these NSI teams, for example, how prepared are they to deal with politically motivated violence, for example, that falls short of terrorism offences but are still sort of threatening public safety?
So a couple of things I would say there. We have had legislation for a little while now specific to hate crimes, to hate symbols, to those types of offences that I'm describing. So we have had investigators investigating those matters, but by standing up dedicated teams, a number of benefits there. First and foremost, we are calling out clearly to any individuals or groups who are partaking or driving this type of behaviour where it gets to a point that it is criminal behaviour. They are on notice, and these teams will sit within our Counter-Terrorism and Special Investigations Command. But the benefit of having the teams, as I said, it'll be a dedicated focus, but it ensures that there'll be coordination across the country.
Do you think there needs to be a conversation around how we define terrorism in this sort of new era where we are seeing, for example, right-wing extremists or whichever group it might be, directly trying to create fear in the community and target social cohesion?
The bulk of our investigations and or caseload has been related to religiously motivated violent extremism. What we have seen in the shift in the operating environment in the last couple of years is, behaviours, activities that are not, they're not at the threshold of being a terrorist act. But they do have significant national security consequences. And we do know that, these types of behaviours do have the possibility of leading to violent extremism.
Policing is having to adapt to this changing environment. Do you feel like there's, the legislative measures in place at the moment are sufficient for you to do your job the most effectively?
So we have the hate crimes legislation, for example, which was introduced earlier this year, and we have a number of investigations that are underway under that new legislation. Part of our approach to these national security investigations teams is looking at, as I've described the national strategy, looking at where are the policy levers, where are potential opportunities for new legislation and or amended legislation. Is the legislation working for us as it stands? So that is part of how we're approaching this from, from a strategic perspective as well as an operational perspective.
Now, Susan. I haven't got time to talk about Susan other than to say, if the zombie apocalypse comes, get behind Susan and do what she says. Elbow and Richard are going to turn into zombies and Krissy will get eaten in the first scene. And that'll do. We've reached our 15 minutes. See you later. Bye.